Thank you. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Township of North Frontenac's regular council meeting for September the 5th, 2023. I'd like to begin by reading a public notice regarding recording of meetings. What did I say? I'm sorry, September the 7th. Okay. Please be advised, North Frontenac council meetings are recorded. By attending a public meeting of council, you are consenting to your image, voice, and comments being recorded. The chair and/or the clerk have the discretion and the authority at any time to direct the termination or interruption of the recording. Such direction will only be in exceptional circumstances where deemed relevant. Circumstances may include instances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. The township shall not be responsible should technical difficulties prevent the recording of any meeting or a portion thereof. Technical issues may include, but are not limited to, the availability of the internet connection, device failure or malfunction, unavailability of social media platforms, or power outages. It should be noted that no protection is afforded to council members, employees, or the public for comments made during meetings which are subsequently challenged in a court of law and or determined to be a defamatory. Notice is hereby provided that under the authority of the Municipal Act 2001 and in accordance with the Municipal Freedom of Information and Privacy Act, that all information provided for a public or provided for at a public meeting or other public process are considered a public record. Members of council, staff, delegates, and attendees should be mindful of using names of individuals or entities when discussing matters in public. Attendees are advised that they may be subject to legal action if their actions result in inappropriate and or unacceptable behavior or comments. Okay. The approval of the agenda. First.
Moved by Councilor Good, seconded by Councilor Regent. Be it resolved, the council approves the agenda dated September 7th, 2023 as amended.
Any comments? In favor? Motion's carried. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Seeing none. Business profiles, we have two: Red Dragon Studio, Shamrock Cafe.
Moved by Councilor Good, seconded by Councilor Regent. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the business profiles provided by Councilor Roy Hudel and Paul Teal, members of the Economic Development Task Force, for the Red Dragon Studio and the Shamrock Cafe.
Any comments? In favor? Resolution's carried. We have no presentations. We have a delegation from the Canadian Handywoman, Tammy Watson. You have 15 minutes. Come on up. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Mr. Council. Thank you for the opportunity. Small dogs akin to the honeydew list. Sorry.
Okay, thanks. I also offer in-person and online training opportunities. Mr. Mayor, my purpose in addressing you this evening is to advise council of different initiatives and outreach opportunities I'm involved with, how small businesses are operating in North Frontenac, as well as day-to-day struggles and obstacles small businesses face. My goal in providing this information is so council can consider topics and decisions that could hopefully have a positive impact on the future success of not only mine, but other business operating in North Frontenac as well. In relation to initiatives I'm involved in, I've been invited to and will participate, and it will be a panelist for a live in-person event hosted by the We Can Project called Thrive Event for Women Entrepreneurs. It's taking place in October at the Seaway Co-working Space in Kingston. The We Can Project is led by Queen's University. Its mission is to inspire and empower existing and aspiring women entrepreneurs by providing them with tools, resources, expert mentors, networks, and community building to expand existing businesses and to launch new ventures. Other panelists for this event include Risha Rahan, owner of Athletico Sports Physiotherapy, Carol Ann Budd, owner of Woodland Wealth Inc. Investing Services, Shamsha Hassan, owner of Afia Beauty Products, and myself, Tammy Watson, owner of Canadian Handywoman. The event will be moderated by Carrie Ramsey, a manager of the We Can Project. Carrie is a retired college professor, a marketing expert, public speaker, podcaster, host, as well as a coach and mentor to many women. I am also currently a co-facilitator with the We Can Project for the 2023 Summer and Fall Early Bird Mastermind Series. The Mastermind opportunity offers space for 10 business women who are in early stages of their business journey. It's an opportunity to ask and share questions, struggles, thoughts, ideas, tools, and solutions to build a successful business. This mastermind is facilitated through a Zoom meeting. In relation to opportunities, during a recent in-person event that I attended in Kingston, I had the opportunity to meet Gabby Eaton. Gabby, with her business partner Joshi Walsh, are the founders of Women Mean Business Professional Network. They empower women business owners and those in the workplace to engage, collaborate, share, educate, and provide resources for personal and business development, growth, and opportunities in Kingston and Eastern Ontario. They're looking to develop a program to encourage female students to explore trades as a career. I've been talking with Gabby to play a role in that program. In relation to my experiences, through my business, I provided direct service to over 200 ratepayers and counting in North Frontenac. A large number are repeat clients. The main obstacles I face in providing service is communication and accessibility. Roads and accessibility are a whole nother area of concern, but my primary focus for tonight is going to be on communications. Many of my clients choose my business because of how accessible I make myself, as well as the digital communication and reporting I provide. A large number of my clients do not live locally. They appreciate I offer a wide range of communication choices, including phone calls, emailing, texting, instant messaging, WhatsApp, Skype, and Slack. A primary factor for each of these initiatives and opportunities and business models that I mentioned to be successful is communication. Mr. Mayor, the need for reliable and stable cell and internet service is vital. Unreliable data and cell reception makes it difficult and frustrating for not only myself, but for my clientele as well. It can impact communication between myself and my client, leading to miscommunication and missed opportunities. There's nothing more irritating than dropping a call while on the road. I may miss out on potential sales or important information. Slow and lost internet connections can disrupt my ability to access important online information, tools, and resources. It can lead to a loss of productivity and revenue. It can impact my ability to make an informed decision for my business. Ultimately, it can make it difficult to make timely and strategic decisions that can help grow my business. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to convey the importance for the council to promote, grow, and develop strong data and cellular networks locally, regionally, and beyond. This can be started by supporting the Community Broadband Performance Testing Program proposed by the CIRA in Frontenac County. Once again, thank you, Mr. Mayor, for your time.
Thank you so much for taking the time to come and update us. Let us know what's going on. We appreciate it. Would you? Oh, sorry. Are there any questions of Tammy? Deputy Mayor?
So Tammy, you're pointing out that cell service is spotty where you are. It doesn't happen to be where I am, and I know there's a tower on the west end of Malcolm Lake This is signal point in only one direction and you get nothing out there?
Deputy Mayor, I've actually switched from Bell to Rogers because Bell was so unstable up here, only to learn that Rogers is just as unstable. I have the opportunity to travel all of North Frontenac. And just yesterday, I was actually at a client's at Sand Lake, and he has what's called a three-way lock. I have never heard of a three-way lock before, and I couldn't lock the door. I couldn't contact him because there was no, it's got two things on the top and the bottom and then a latch, and you have to turn it up and then down, and it's not something usual. I couldn't figure out how to do it. I couldn't YouTube it. I couldn't phone him because there was no service. I had to leave the premises, and that was just on Sand Lake, which is around the corner from here. During the summer months of July and August, I actually cannot make a phone call on the 506 between Highway 41 and my house. Only during July and August, because so much of the bandwidth is being used by everybody who's up here with their cell phones, with their Wi-Fi routers, and just all the use in general.
So that's an issue that is traditionally lobbied by the county throughout Eastern Ontario. I'm not sure there's anything much more we can do. Mr. Mayor, are you aware?
So let me provide you with a bit of an update. The Eastern Ontario Regional Network has about $300 million to install 306 communication towers from the Kawarthas east to the Quebec border, excluding Ottawa. That sounds like a big number, but it's a huge area, and they can only go out 20 or 25 kilometers. That's their actual radius, if you're lucky. We have a lot of rocks and trees that get in the way. There is a tower slated for south end of Cloyne. Don't know if it'll make a difference to you. There's another one supposedly going on Ardoch Road, near Over the Hills Road, and maybe one not too far from here. The trouble is they're having difficulty finding people who will allow these towers on their property.
Right.
So by the end of 25 or 26, that's project is supposed to be done. Now, it's interesting, you talked about the available bandwidth north of Cloyne, Bon Echo, and so on. That tower has already been strengthened.
Mhm.
So, but there was another one supposed to be right in Cloyne, but apparently they're having difficulty finding a willing land host. So it's coming, but it's going to take time.
I appreciate
And
that.
apparently Bell is also going to put fiber optics through here. So who knows? It's
I
coming.
appreciate that information.
Counselor Hoodle would like to make a comment.
Councilor Hoodle?
Thanks, Tammy, for your presentation. So I share your frustrations with the internet and the cell service. I just went to Perth today to go to the doctor and I lost my cell halfway getting there on Highway 7, which is really ridiculous if you ask me. But the mayor did update you on what's happening with that. The other thing I really liked about your presentation is encouraging young women to consider trades in a career in Eastern Ontario. So I don't know if you know, I'm a licensed electrician, and I was involved with that in my previous job. So if there's any help you need from me or anything, just give me an email and I'd be happy to help.
I appreciate that. I'll make sure Ms. Eaton knows that.
Okay. Councilor Good?
I share your frustration with the cell service too, because I had to put a booster at my house. And the whole part of Ward 1 right from Highway 41 East, Gull Lake, Cashwash and Black Lake, there's no service in there hardly at all. You gotta get up on a hill in the right spot to get it. And as far as looking for cell towers, I own 180 acres on the Harlow Road there, and part of it's up on a fairly high rock hill. So I've never been notified about the tower and asking about it.
How about I send you what, like we have one in our property, it's in an abandoned gravel pit, but I can send you the connection if you want to give them a call. Okay. So. Any other comments?
Thank you very much.
Moved by Counselor Good, seconded by Counselor Regent. Be it resolved that council receives for information the presentation from Tammy Watson, Canadian handywoman, and thanks her for her time spent today.
Any final comments? In favor? Carried. Item 7, adoption of minutes, public meeting minutes, August 17th, 2023, and the regular meeting minutes, August 17th, 2023.
Moved by Counselor Regent, seconded by Counselor Good. Be it resolved that council adopts the minutes as circulated of a public meeting of council regarding amendments to the fees and charges bylaw dated August 17th, 2023, and a regular meeting of council dated August 17th, 2023.
Are there any comments? In favor? Carried. Business arising out of the minutes, resolution 356-23, renaming of a road.
Moved by Counselor Good, seconded by Counselor Regent. Whereas at their meeting on August 17th, 2023, council passed bylaw 4923, road naming bylaw, Liswick Lane. Therefore be it resolved, the council receives an email dated August 21st, 2023 from the Public Works Administrative Assistant advising the spelling of the new lane name was incorrect, and that council will consider a bylaw later in the meeting to pass a road naming bylaw for Liswick Lane and repeal bylaw 4923.
Are there any comments? In favor of the motion? Motion is carried. Resolution 272-23, dedication for the late Jerry Martin.
Moved by Counselor Good, seconded by Counselor Regent. Whereas at their meeting on June 9th, 2023, council passed resolution 272-23, receiving for information the manager of community development's administrative report entitled Dedication for the late Jerry Martin, and instructed the MCD to purchase and install a memorial at the cenotaph. Therefore be it resolved, council receives for information photos of the memorial.
Any comments? Counselor Hermer.
I think that's quite appropriate, what was written there.
I do too. Any other comments? In favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Resolution 310-23, Palmerston Highlands subdivision. Request to assume maintenance of roads and bridge.
Moved by Counselor Regent, seconded by Counselor Good. Whereas council passed resolution 310-23 on July 20th, 2023, instructing the Public Works Manager to review the request, including obtaining a legal opinion and a report back to council with estimated costs for maintenance. Therefore be resolved, the council receives for information the Palmerston Highlands Owners Association petition to take over the maintenance of the roads in Palmerston Highlands subdivision and the bridge owned by the township, and that as directed, the Public Works Manager has begun the process of obtaining information, and once the information is gathered, the PWM will report back to council in the near future for consideration.
Are there any comments? Deputy Mayor.
Did we ask for a petition like this, or was this proactive on their part?
Proactive. Did you, Darwin,
It's being proactive. It's a requirement under the bylaw for the assumption of private lanes like this. So they're just, it's one step from that, they're taken out of that bylaw.
anybody else have a comment on this? Counselor Fowler?
Sorry, Darwin, you said something about, you said a private lane. Is that what you were calling it?
Well, the bylaw covers private lanes on assumed township roads, so it's the requirement for a petition is a requirement under that bylaw, so they've taken that first step.
In that light, I would like to change the resolution. And the reason I'd like to change it is, it's the roads in Palmerston Highlands subdivision and the bridge owned by the township. That decision has not been made yet. So I'd like to, to change that to, and the bridge over the Mississippi River, providing access to Palmerston Highlands. Can we do that? Everybody's okay with that? We don't know that yet. That was one of the things we had to ask.
It is, that's the one question being reviewed by the solicitor currently.
And that's the big issue with this one. It's not 20 feet. Okay, Brooke, you're on.
I'll just read the paragraph that's been amended.
Yes, please.
Therefore, be it resolved, the council receives for information the Palmerston Highlands Owners Association petition to take over the maintenance of the roads in Palmerston Highlands subdivision and the bridge over the Mississippi River, providing access to the subdivision.
You've heard the resolution. In favor? Resolution's carried. So item 9, communications A.
Moved by Counselor Regent, seconded by Counselor Good. Be it resolved that council receives for information Section A items of the clerk's administrative report entitled Communications of Interest.
Are there any comments? In favor of this resolution? Folks, in favor of the resolution? Motion's carried. Item B, the Algonquins of Ontario.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Fowler. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the June 2023 Algonquins of Ontario AOO newsletter, and the council requests the mayor and CAO contact the AOO to request a meeting to discuss the current relationship between the AOO and North Frontenac and future opportunities.
Have any comments on this resolution? Deputy Mayor?
This sounds like quite a welcome change. When I was on county council in 2010, I was a liaison between Frontenac County and the negotiating team, and we had one meeting and that was it. After 2010, everything became extremely secretive. It sounds like somebody's ready to talk to us about issues at this point, and I would welcome that.
And the reason I thought about you and I both going, but you and I are on 4-year employment status. So one from the council, one individual, that should be me, and then the CAO, because that provides the historical transition. So any comments on this other than that one? In favor? Carried. Item 9B2, Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority, request for North Frontenac appointed to Kashwackamack Lake Dam Environmental Assessment Committee.
Moved by Counselor Fowler, seconded by Counselor Hermer. Be it resolved, the council receives for information an email dated August 30th, 2023 from Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority, providing the terms of reference for a community liaison committee being established for the Kashwackamack Lake Dam Replacement Environmental Assessment, and requesting the township appoint a member of staff, of council or staff to sit on the committee, and that council appoints as a representative of North Frontenac on the committee.
Comments? Deputy Mayor.
Can I nominate Counselor Hudel?
You can. Counselor Hoodle, are you interested in doing this?
I would be interested, but it's a conflict of interest because I'm on the board.
So Counselor Hoodle and I talked about this before, and I would like to do this as well. Because this is my background. A lot of it is, so. Anybody else wants to put their name forward and we can go from there? Pardon? Okay. Oh. I'll tell you, I think you are strung out way too thin as it is. That's my suggestion, but you're more than welcome. Yeah, I know. He's talk to your other Ward 1 council, Ward 3 councilor. Yes.
Counselor Good.
I used to do roads and bridges, and we would design buildings, and we did environmental assessments and everything else and so on.
Counselor Fowler, have you got any background on this at all?
I've got background in drafting and things like that. I've been a layout person in a business before. So I understand how things work.
That's a long way from, doing that.
Can we have a vote on this to who we think would be best representation on this, or?
By all means. Deputy Mayor?
Well, somebody could also comment that perhaps the mayor is way too strung out too.
That's, well, yeah, that's.
I don't want the job, but I'll point out that I was a board member and I'm familiar with this file, but I don't want the job.
Okay, it's 2 or 3 meetings between now and the spring. That's what it is. If someone else in council wants to do it, then we can have a vote. Okay. No, you're only allowed one, so we can do a vote. Okay, so do you want to? That's not what I was asking. I was going to ask if you want to call a vote, Deputy Mayor.
So we have 2 people who want to take this position. I guess the process would be a show of hands for the mayor.
If I can, Counselor Hudel, I think wants to speak. I'm not sure if he's.
So maybe before we vote, they did ask, they said it could be a member of staff. Is there any members of staff who would like to be on that?
Sure, by all means.
No, we'll give council the opportunity first. I do have a staff that volunteered if council, if no council were interested. So we're, as staff, we're good. Thank you for thinking of us, though.
Then my vote is for Mayor Lichty.
So that adds to the show of hands, including Councillor Fowler, who voted. So I guess you've got the job.
Thank you. I don't usually do that sort of stuff, but I guess I am okay. I think it'd be interesting. That was just the web information. That was one of the things that Jerry Martin really wanted to be involved with. So,
Can I just remind you that years ago, when Jerry was on the board, one of his major concerns was that North Frontenac would get saddled with most of the cost of that dam replacement. One of the agreements he was able to bring in was that the cost of that dam would be equally borne by all the members of the association, which ends up being mostly Ottawa, of course, who shoulders 90% of the costs. So that was, Jerry saved us from the 8 ball on that.
So with your background to this, maybe you should be doing this.
I already said I don't wish to.
Okay. Okay. All right, so item 10, administrative reports.
We're gonna read the resolution, the final resolution.
Let's read the last line, the last paragraph.
And that council appoints Mayor Lichty as representative of North Frontenac on the committee.
Okay, all in favor? Carried. Okay, so, administrative reports, proposal to streamline the planning approval process. So do you want, does Dimitri have do you have a presentation?
Dimitri does have a short presentation.
Okay.
Let me just test this first. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. My name is Dimitri. I'm one of the planners at the County of Frontenac. So just want to give you a quick background. I thought it would be important for me to be here today just to kind of give you an overview of our latest proposal to streamline the development review process, specifically in this case, by delegating approval authority of undisputed consents, or commonly known as severances, from the Committee of Adjustment to municipal staff. So we've been working and thinking over the last 1.5 years, 2 years really, since the COVID-19 and the volume of increased applications of how we can improve the development review process. So we've done a whole whack of things over the last 1.5 years or so that has essentially improved the way that we do planning work, and we have been able to give our applicants and anybody that is applying for consent applications and minor variances themselves a lot more understanding in the process and a lot more transparency, I would say. And we've come to a point where a lot of the applications that we deal with are quite simple in nature at the Committee of Adjustment and don't have any outlying issues, sorry. So this proposal specifically is anticipated to speed up the approval process of consent applications. And we're anticipating of a time savings of about 14 to 45 days for our applicants. It will also reduce the amount of time, staff time spent on preparing report, preparing presentation slides, various reference materials that go with both the preparing a report and the presentation slides, and of course, delivering presentations at the Committee of Adjustment. When all this considered, we're estimating maybe a potential of 50% time less spent per routine planning application. And based on our numbers over the last 2 years, this year included, I would say about 90, maybe even more than 90% of our applications are routine files. This will also allow the Committee of Adjustment to focus their time on more contentious applications or those with outstanding policy issues that require policy interpretation or that require the Committee of Adjustment to kind of provide a middle ground between planning policy and the concerns raised by neighbors and the desires of the applicants. Overall, across the province, delegating approval authority of technical matters such as undisputed consents is generally seen as a low-risk method of streamlining development approvals. So what is an undisputed consent? It's an application for land division, commonly known as severances, that have no outstanding policy issues, technical concerns, or public concerns. These examples of these applications include limited lot creation, lot additions, lot line adjustments, or creation of access easements or rights of way. This does not include plans of subdivision or plans of condominium or generally larger scale applications that go beyond a simple consent application. And as I mentioned earlier, over the last 2-3 years, a majority of the applications that we've dealt with and that the committee has dealt with had no outstanding policy issues or concerns that have been raised by members of the public or technical agencies. So we essentially go to committee, do a presentation, the committee will ask a few questions, and then the application is ultimately approved. So to give you a quick background of the way that the current consent application process works is, number one, we have a pre-application consultation. So that includes county staff as well as township staff and the applicants. And at that consultation is where we figure out what exactly the individuals are looking to do with their property. And then we're able to take their concept and then play it against the policies of the official plan and the zoning bylaw. And at that point, that's when we identify all the issues that will need to be dealt with by the applicant or something that we would need to address. This is a process that we've been refining over the last 2 years. And what we've been doing lately is now also looping in other technical agencies well ahead of the submission of the application so that applicants know exactly what they need to do for their application to be successful in the context of the official plan policies as well as the zoning bylaw. After that, the application is submitted. It is then circulated for public notice. It's also circulated to technical agencies. Typically, the circulation is done 6 weeks ahead of time to give everybody ample opportunity. So I'll go back 6 weeks ahead of the Committee of Adjustment meeting to give everybody ample opportunity to provide comments and for the planners to summarize everything and prepare a planning report. The planner then will compile all the information and then submit the planning report about a week in advance of the Committee of Adjustment meeting. The Committee of Adjustment then holds their meeting, they make a decision. That decision is then subject to a 20-day notice of decision or a 20-day appeal period. And if that application is appealed, then it goes off to the Ontario Land Tribunal. If it's not appealed, which has been most of these applications that we've dealt with, the application enters into the fulfillment of conditions stage, and that usually people have about 2 years to do so. The revised consent application process specifically for undisputed consents will be virtually the exact same. The only difference really is that the planning report is going to be replaced with more of a checklist to kind of streamline how we do our review. It will still address the exact same policies. It'll just be less words for planning staff to put on paper. And then the decision then can be made by township staff, being either the township CAO or the clerk. And that will essentially, basically anybody that submits an application, once we receive all comments, if there's no outstanding issue, if no neighbors have raised any concerns, the staff can arrive to a decision fairly quickly. We don't need to wait for the committee of adjustment meeting for that to happen. The delegated authority bylaw will still allow consent applications to be bumped up to committee of adjustment for decision by either members of the public or members of council, committee of adjustment members, applicants themselves, or planning staff should the need arise. The bump up process is going to look very similar to the current consent process. The only difference is that after the initial circulation goes out to the public and technical agencies, it will then need to be recirculated to identify a date of public meeting, and that will need to happen at least 14 days in accordance with the Planning Act. But everything else is going to be more or less the same. So there are several precedents for these types of processes throughout Eastern Ontario. A lot of these municipalities passed delegated bylaws for consents, delegated approval bylaws for consents to deal with the influx of volume of applications during the COVID-19 pandemic. A lot of these municipalities, the process worked so well that they decided to continue that after the volume of applications that have gone down. Based on our research, we note that Township of South Frontenac, City of Kingston, Township of Stone Mills, the Township of Leeds and Thousand Islands, County of Lanark, and the City of Ottawa all have these processes in place to speed up the consent approval process. The idea of delegated approvals for technical decisions have also been noted in best practices and provincial mandates, specifically the Ontario Housing Affordability Task Force, which clearly states that approvals for new housing projects could be sped up by delegating technical decisions to staff. In that report, they mentioned technical decisions as a very vague term. So there's lots of things that can be delegated to staff throughout the planning and building life cycle. But we've at this point have identified undisputed consents. Similar sentiment is also echoed by the Ontario Municipalities, the Association of Municipalities of Ontario, also known as AMO, and of course the Ontario Professional Planners Institute, known as OPPI, which I am a member of. So if you agree to go forward with this proposal, our next steps would be to prepare a delegated approvals bylaw and then bring it to council for consideration. The bylaw will identify what constitutes an undisputed consent, so it's clearly enshrined in that bylaw. And then it will also identify how those applications can be elevated to the Committee of Adjustment and who can actually elevate those applications. Staff will then prepare a list of conditions associated typically with an approval of an application for council consideration. These are standard conditions that we use on all our files today, but it is something that you will be able to review and take a look at and comment on. And then ultimately staff will then prepare a new report template and then modify the wording of all the circulation material and then update any of our guidance documents to reflect the changes to the consent process. So that concludes my presentation. If you have any questions.
Deputy Mayor.
Dimitri, it says in the proposed process here that there would, item 4, preparation of a planning analysis. Why do you need a planning analysis if it's undisputed or it's clear cut, it meets all the guidelines?
So through the mayor, it's a standard. It's essentially a standard that we have to follow when we are processing planning applications. There are certain requirements in the Planning Act that all decisions have to abide by. And the Planning Act essentially requires us to consider certain policies. And the medium that we use to consider those policies is that planning report. So we have to do it even if it's undisputed.
So that's your staff at the county level that prepares that report still.
That's correct.
So the only stage that's missing here is the committee considering this. My other question would be, okay, so you write a planning report. Is the staff decision not simply a rubber stamp at that point? Like, why would staff turn it down, for example?
So I think through the mayor, the staff would not be able to turn down an undisputed consent. In fact, staff typically in delegated approvals, only the Committee of Adjustment can turn down applications. So essentially, we need somebody to authorize the application. Somebody needs to approve the application, and the Planning Act allows that decision to be downloaded essentially to staff rather than the committee.
So the expectation would be that staff would approve it if there were no red flags.
So through the mayor, that's correct. Essentially, undisputed consents are just routine applications that could be approved as long as no concerns from neighbors arise.
Okay, are there any other questions? Okay, I have one for you, Dimitri. Under the current process, every application is physically looked at by a member of the Committee of Adjustment. If you mentioned it, I missed it, and I apologize, but how does that fit into this process now, into the new proposed process?
I think that's a good question. I would imagine that it would fit as part of the technical circulation, but that's something that we haven't quite figured out just yet. There should be a mechanism for how if the committee should be looking at those applications or not. If the bylaws worded in a way that allows the committee to elevate those applications to the committee, then certainly they would need it.
You're missing my point. Point is that every application, if it's simple or if it's very complex, goes through a physical site review. And by the way, I have no issue with this because this problem is solved. So are we expecting the clerk or the deputy clerk or somebody to look at this and says, yes, take a picture? Or do we assign a member of the Committee of Adjustment, or do we assign somebody else to do it? What's that mechanism?
I think that's something that we haven't hashed out, whether or not township staff are going to be going out and looking at the property. Right now, our planners go out and we do those site visits for most applications. So, I mean, it's a good point and something we can hash out if we move forward on this.
If it's undisputed and county's already going out and doing it, maybe we don't need the township to do it. Okay. All right, are there any other comments? Deputy Mayor?
I hope there's no danger that this initiative will creep up to the level of minor variances, which in my opinion still need to be looked at individually by the COA.
Through the mayor, not at this time. No, we're not looking at minor variances for something like this. We are working through a community planning permit system, and that process is something that will work and potentially modify how minor variances are done. But this in itself is only strictly for consents.
Okay. So any final comments before we call the vote? Seeing none, in favor of the motion? Sorry, I'm one step ahead of myself. Lucky I have minors, I need them.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Fowler. Be it resolved that council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled Proposal to Streamline the Planning Approval Process for Undisputed Consents, and that council instructs the clerk to prepare a bylaw to delegate approval to the clerk planning manager for undisputed consents for council's consideration at an upcoming meeting, and that council instructs the clerk planning manager to prepare a list of standard conditions for council's consideration, and that upon adoption of the bylaw, council instructs the clerk planning manager to report back to council within 12 to 18 months of implementation on the effectiveness of the delegated approval process.
Final comments? In favor of the resolution? Carried. Before we go on, thank you, Dimitri, appreciate it. Before we go on, I have one question for the CAO. I did not know that Dimitri was going to make a presentation, and I assume the other counselors didn't know either. And we didn't have access to his presentation documents before. Is there some way that we can make sure that we get this? Because even though the information, majority of information is already in the written part, there was more in that.
Yep, we'll get a copy of your presentation to us and we'll get it off to council.
I was thinking more for the future.
Oh, certainly, yes.
Okay,
We can also attach it to the minutes.
perfect. Okay. it's just nice to know that it's there and someone's gonna make a presentation. And that's nothing to do with you, Dimitri, it's just the communication thing here. Deputy Mayor,
Can I ask for a revision to the agenda? Item F, if we could move it forward, because proponents are here in the audience.
which one's item F?
That's a request for a waiver of penalties and interest. It's the last item. It's on page 85 of the page 85 of my package.
Yeah, it's a page 5 of mine. I'm using the HTML version of the world.
Once again,
Does anybody have, I know we have to go through a proper resolution, but
I only ask because there's a couple items in here that might have a bit of discussion beforehand.
that'll be item 10F.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Inglis, seconded by Councillor Hermer. Be it resolved, the council amends the agenda to move item 10F ahead of item 10B.
Any comments? In favor of the change? Carried. Okay. Request for penalty and interest to be waived. Sutherland, item 10F.
Moved by Councillor Fowler, seconded by Councillor Hermer. Be it resolved that council receives for information the treasurer's administrative report entitled Sutherland Request for Penalty and Interest to be Waived, and the council approves to waive the penalty and interest only due to the circumstances around the non-payment of taxes, and that council instructs the treasurer to advise the Sutherlands of the approval to have penalty and interest waived due to the circumstances.
Any comments? Deputy Mayor?
Maybe this is a minor one, but I think Mr. should be doctor in every case.
Any objections to that?
How can there be objections?
Well, it's a change for council. So, you gentlemen are both doctors?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay, so,
So if
so where does it fit?
There's three locations under comments, I think.
Resolution's fine? Yeah, it's fine. Resolution's okay.
Okay, it's just the agenda.
In favor of the motion? Anybody opposed? Carried. Okay, so let's go back to item 9B, which is Shore Road Allowance application for approval and 10B for approval in principle. Why?
moved by Councillor Fowler, seconded by Councillor Hermer. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the clerk planning manager's administrative report entitled One Shore Road Allowance Application for Approval in Principle, Malloy, and the council approves in principle the application to close, stop up, and sell the Shore Road allowance as described below. Part of the Shore Road allowance lying adjacent to Part Lot 25, Concession 8, Geographic Township of Barry, Marble Lake.
Any comments? In favor? Carried. Item 10C, Carbon Monoxide Awareness Week, November 1st to the 7th.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Fowler. Be it resolved that council receives the Director of Emergency Services Fire Chief's Administrative Report entitled Carbon Monoxide Awareness Week, November 1st to the 7th, 2023 for information purposes, and that the North Frontenac Fire Department wishes to remind and educate local residents about the importance of having working carbon monoxide detectors in their home if the home has a fuel burning appliance, a fireplace, or an attached garage. And the council instructs the Director of Emergency Services Fire Chief to place a copy of the mayoral declaration in the Frontenac News.
Any comments? In favor? Carried. Item 10D, Manager, Community Development, Economic Development Update.
Moved by Counselor Fowler, seconded by Counselor Hermer. Be it resolved that council receives for information Manager of Community Development's Administrative Report entitled Economic Development Update, and the council authorizes the use of up to $3,000 from the 2023 budget line 170-50266 business promotions allocated for economic community events for the coordination of 2024 Winterfest.
Any comments on this? Deputy Mayor?
Brooke is not here and Matt is not here. Corey, could you tell me why there's 3,000 required for next year's and only 1,500 was allowed for February 23 Winterfest?
Maybe I may, if it's okay through you, defer to the treasurer on this one.
I think their intent is to look for a little bit more money for the 2024 Winterfest. So 1,500 is what they used for the 2023 Winterfest. So they are hoping, I think, to have 3,000 to go towards the 2024 Winterfest.
I confess that I did not go to the 2023 Winterfest. I hear that it was a great success.
It was.
It was cold though, but it was good. You did a great job. I have one issue with, actually, let's do it right after we finish this motion, okay? And it has to do with your first comment. So, does anybody else have any comments about this? In favor? Can you read the resolution? Yeah, okay. Yes, everybody in favor of the resolution? Anybody opposed? $3,000. Okay, carried. I have an issue with this. From the point is, we have a report in front of us from a manager, and that manager is not here. Unless there's a good reason, I think the managers should be here when they have reported. Was anybody, and that kind of refers to what you were getting to, Deputy Mayor?
I guess in this case, my feeling is that Kelly has the information that would have been provided by Brooke or Matt, and that was sufficient in this case, I think.
But this is a really good report. A
Councillor
lot of information.
Councillor
Councillor
Hugo
Hudo.
would also speak.
So I think this report was excellent. It was written well, it was researched well. The only thing that would make it better would be a presentation from the manager. I think this really needs a presentation to show all what we've done. And maybe going forward, I've talked about this before, presentations by staff would be a good opportunity to showcase what they're doing.
Sale.
Yep, we can, we'll certainly, we'll look at that for the future. And typically, looked at this as a pretty straightforward report. So typically, if it looks pretty straightforward and we think, you know, we will typically, if a manager's aware, we'll go with it. But if it's something a little more complex or complicated, we typically will say we're going to defer it until they can be here for sure. So we do our best, but sometimes it's just hard to.
Yeah, you had no idea I was going to ask this question. So I mean,
You're
it's just-
right.
it came out of left field.
But
you
it's
know?
pretty straightforward. So I mean, there's not much on there that I think that we can't answer as either the treasurer or myself with conversations. But yeah, we certainly do our best to do that.
I still think Councillor Hoodle has an excellent point. Staff do a good job. It's their turn or their time to showcase it to us. And this was a really great report.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes, Councillor Hoodle.
about the $3,000, I think we discussed that in the Economic Development Task Force. And we had suggested raising it to 3,000 for 1,500.
Deputy Mayor.
As chair, I guess I should have known that.
Anyway, the motion is passed. Okay, so we are on to Local Government Week.
Moved by Counselor Hermer, seconded by Counselor Fowler. Be it resolved that the council receives for information the Manager of Community Development's administrative report entitled 2023 Local Government Week, October 15th to the 21st. And the council approves the Local Government Week initiatives, including mock council contest, fire chief for the day, social media campaign, a municipal office, public works facility, and fire station tour and presentations, activities for local schools at the municipal office on Thursday, October 17th, 2023, if the local schools are interested.
Any comments? Deputy Mayor, then Councilor Hermer.
In the past, we invited a young man to come to council meetings. What was his first name? Mr. Young Ross.
Gregory.
Gregory Ross, and he came to some meetings, and I'm sure he learned a lot, and it was, of course, he couldn't vote. But it was an interesting process. I'm not sure it worked that well, but it brings to mind, to me, I think it might be really interesting for any students who want to come and spend a little bit of time at a council meeting. They would apply to do this. They would sit here for 15 minutes and watch the way it works or doesn't work, and then go away. And it would be a real experience that they wouldn't get any other way. I just think it's an idea that might work for some students.
Councilor Hermer.
I think it's an excellent idea. It might pique interest in the next generation to become involved in local politics.
Councilor Fowler.
Yes, I remember him being here, and he was quite interesting, and he showed a lot of initiative.
Okay, so this is all the schools, or is this just one school? It's all the schools.
Right, but we'll invite all of the schools. I'm not sure they'll all participate. Busing is really hard now and stuff like
Yeah.
that, so we'll invite them for sure, but
Yes. So the one thing that, what I kind of took, well, this is kind of interesting, the mock council. And it says staff are going to decide. And I thought, well, why couldn't council decide? It's just a thought. Is anybody interested in being, form 2-man or 2 individual team and review it? Councilor Regent.
Is this just open to, sorry, am I misunderstanding something, or is this just open to grades 5 to 8?
no, it's gonna be open to all students, starting with, for that contest, actually, that contest. Let me just check.
So it includes high school students.
Sorry, I just have to review it here. Grades 5 to 8. No, this is grades 5 to 8. So local government week focuses on age grades through the AMO stuff, and that's why. So grade 5 to 8 for that contest, that fits within that. That's kind of based on their criteria, what they're looking for. That section. So yes, that is 5 to 8.
Councilor Good.
Yeah, I remember or what happened with the other back before. Yeah, I can't really say a whole lot about it. I talked to the previous mayor about it.
Okay. Dale.
So that wasn't a local government week initiative. That was that was a whole different initiative, and that person came up to our council meeting. This is for a good month or two, right? A few months, right? So that's a whole different initiative. This is just to spark, it's really designed to spark interest with students into our municipal ways. So in the past, I mean, there's lots of historical things we've done, which have been really great, which have worked out well. It's a cheap way to do things. So I mean, this is an annual exercise. So I mean, we can, if we want to do other things and have kids come to a council, we can do that next year, or we can do, you know what I mean? That's the fun thing about this is we can change it up and do things as we want to do it going forward. So I mean, certainly, if you guys have ideas for the future, that's great too. We're certainly willing to look at those and try to make them come to fruition.
Any other comments? Sorry, Counselor Regent.
No, I just want to clarify. I think this is fantastic. The age group, I'm just questioning the age group. I'm wondering if maybe this is something that could be anyways, open to high school kids. I think maybe, I don't know. It's what came to mind.
How many applications or papers do we get or submissions do we get on average? Because I'm suggesting that council do the mock council review, but are we looking at 50 or are we looking at 10?
So this is a new initiative. We haven't tried this one yet. This is going to be a new one. The last one we did was it was a picture contest where the kids drew pictures of fun things in North Frontenac, and only Clarendon Central participated that year. The other two did not. They were invited, but only Clarendon participated. So I think just about all the students actually submitted photos. So, but this, I'm not sure if this is a new initiative for us, but if you want council to be part of this, absolutely, we can do that.
What do the other counselors think about this? Should we get involved or should we let staff do it for a year and see what happens? And I'm afraid we might get a lot. That's what I'm afraid of. Teacher makes it a class initiative and look out. Okay, we'll leave it as is. No one's jumping at the bit here, so, okay. In favor of the motion? Carried. Okay, item 11. External boards and committees, Economic Development Task Force.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Inglis, seconded by Councillor Hermer. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the minutes of the Economic Development Task Force dated August 21st, 2023.
Comments? Deputy Mayor?
Remember, next meeting, we have a mural unveiling, hopefully outside.
Yes, hopefully outside.
In 3 weeks, and a cake.
Councilor Fowler, you're looking to see what flavor?
I just say,
Sorry, I was not called for.
sorry, just regarding the economic task force, I think we should be looking at some of the murals that have been made from the past. Some of them are starting to deteriorate. And we should look at ways either to improve them or have them replaced.
We're on it. I mean, that's definitely an issue. These have a lifetime.
Right, in favor of the motion? Oh, sorry, Councilor Good?
Yeah, this recommendation here about the authorized for up to $3,000. Is this the same as the previous one we just done? We've got $3,000 here. And
$3,000 was the recommendation to,
But there was 1,500 and it went up to 3,000.
yeah,
Is this the same money or is this different
Yes.
money?
that's right, yes. Same money. We already approved the 3,000. This is not another 3,000. Okay, all right, so in favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Committee of Adjustment, Planning Advisory Committee.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Inglis, seconded by Councillor Hermer. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment Planning Advisory Committee dated July 24th, 2023.
Are there any comments? In favor of the motion? Carried. Joint Health and Safety Committee, item 11C.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Inglis, seconded by Councillor Hermer. Be it resolved, the council receives for information the minutes of the Joint Health and Safety Committee dated August 14th, 2023.
Any comments? In favor of the motion? Motion's carried. Are there any notices of motion? Seeing none, we have no notices, etc. Verbal reports. Okay, So as the mayor, I have been to the AGM for the North Frontenac Lake Association Alliance. It was quite good, enjoyed that. Participated in the opening the golf tournament for the Land O'Lakes Lions Club fundraiser. And I was to participate in the auction on the weekend, but for medical reasons at home, I couldn't do that. I'm at the tomorrow I'm at the Alzheimer's Walk for Pine Meadows. And a week and a half later, I'm at the AGM for the Land O'Lakes Service Committee. I don't know, that's not the right word for it. Land O'Lakes Community Service. Okay. So that's just about it for me. Counselor Good?
No, road closing in the last couple weeks.
Counselor Regent?
I have a board meeting Monday evening with the family health team. Other than that, no, that's it.
Counselor Hoodle?
I attended the Big Gull Lake East End AGM, which was interesting, and they had concerns with cell towers and internet also, so you can imagine. And this Monday, I have a board meeting with the Mississippi Valley Conservation Authority.
Counselor Hermer?
I have a joint fire committee meeting tomorrow morning.
Counselor Fowler?
Yes, we have an EOTA meeting next Thursday. There's nothing from the county. Salt committee, we met this morning, and we're proposing two locations or two salt presentations here in North Frontenac. The first one will be in October. We have preferred dates. I've emailed Brooke Ross regarding this. We would like the first one to be at Clare Mill Hall, and the topic would be fire prevention and wildfire. And I believe our fire chief has been in touch with some of our people already. And also the paramedics, we're trying to get them to come and speak about neighbors saving neighbors. We're looking to have it catered locally. And what we just need right now is availability of the hall. The second one would be in January in Cloyne at the Berry Hall. We're looking at Lakelands Family Council in Northbrook. I think it's Lisa Brash is the one that's looking after that. We're looking at trauma and depression. And then also we'll have the OPP intervene and do a crisis intervention presentation. And I've emailed this information to Brooke as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, introduction and reading of the bylaws. Well, I'm sorry. Apologize. But I really do. Deputy Mayor.
Very little to report, except Fred and I, Councilor Fowler and I had a Zoom meeting this morning with two residents of Narcan. They're interested in some road issues, but what I found interesting is I went to a Lake Association meeting probably in 2015. That may be the last one they've had. That they're somewhat unorganized, but these two residents did express an interest in recreating the Lake Association and in fact possibly joining the alliance. So maybe something will come of that. I think it might be a good thing for the alliance to be represented by the far northern people.
Reverse. Reverse. So that, yes. I
They
think
are
it
going to
was
follow that up.
good. All right. Brooke, you're on.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Inglis, seconded by Councilor Hermer. Be it resolved that leave be given to the mover to introduce the following bylaws that have been circulated to all members of council. Number 5723, amendment to road naming bylaw, add Lezuc Lane, repeal bylaw 4923. Number 5823, to appoint an integrity commissioner, Tony Fleming, and repeal bylaw 5218, appointing an integrity commissioner, John Mascarin, and that these bylaws be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Comments? In favor? Carried. Item 16 is a public forum. Is there anyone in the council chambers or online that would like to voice an opinion on the items that we've discussed today? Seeing none, oh,
We'll
sorry.
just- If anyone online wishes to make comment, please use the raise hand feature. Seeing none.
Thank you, Kelly. So item 17, which is a closed session, Brooke, please.
Moved by Deputy Mayor Inglis, seconded by Councillor Hermer. Be it resolved, the council retires to closed session at 6:10 PM to A, adopt minutes of a closed meeting dated August 17th, 2023. And B, to consider pending acquisition or disposition of land, more specifically with respect to a potential land exchange.
Any comments? In favor? Carried. We will take a break till 6:15 and we'll start the closed meeting. This brings us back to the regular meeting. Item 18, rise and report. Resolution. That thing again. Right there. Okay. During the closed meeting, council discussed or council adopted the minutes of closed meeting August 17th, 2023, and discussed the potential acquisition or disposition of land. So item 19, that is confirmatory bylaw 5923.
Moved by Councillor Hermer, seconded by Deputy Mayor Inglis. Be resolved that bylaw 5923, being a bylaw to confirm all actions and proceedings of council for its regular meeting held September 7th, 2023, be read a first, second, and third time and finally passed.
Comments? In favor? Carried. Adjournment.
Moved by Councillor Hermer, seconded by Deputy Mayor Inglis. Be resolved, the council adjourns the meeting at 6:34 PM until September 22nd, 2023, or at the call of the chair.
Comments? In favor? Carried. Meeting is over.